few words are enough to throw the investing landscape into turmoil, making it a rough ride for anyone who's looking to kickstart their investment journey. So how should one navigate such stormy waters? Where do you begin? How do you adjust your portfolio? Join us at the BFM Ringgit and Cents Investing Through a Stormy 2023 event, where our expert guests will share insights and tips. Happening on Wednesday, 1st March. Get your tickets at bfm.my/events. The event is presented by Sun Life Malaysia, your lifetime insurance and takaful partner.
This is a podcast from BFM 89.9, the business station.
For decades, Palestinians have suffered injustice and oppression at the hands of the violent Israel-Zionist regime. There have been many attempts to resolve this conflict peacefully, but negotiations have always fallen through. But what lies at the heart of the Israel-Palestinian conflict? I'm Darshan Johan, and this is Today I Learned. On the show with me today is Baha Hilo. He's a Palestinian rights activist and educator. Since 2013, he has been focused on education on Palestine through an initiative called To Be There, where he focuses on explaining the complicated history of this conflict. Welcome to the show, Baha. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Dash. I'm really good.
What lies at the heart of the Israel-Palestinian conflict?
The heart of it is very simple. Today we are, looking at a situation where Palestine is completely controlled by the Israeli government, and the Israeli government is established in order to uphold, let's say, a superior status for those who are born to Jewish families on the expense of Palestinians who remain in Palestine. There is a lot of confusion that is intentional and created by the propaganda machine of the State of Israel and its allies that makes one think that Israel and Palestine are two separate geographies, like Malaysia and Thailand.
Right.
Well, in fact, Israel and Palestine are two different words that describe the exact same geography, like Germany and Deutschland, for example. These are two different words that describe the exact same geography. That geography is completely controlled by the Israeli government, which upholds superior status for those who are born to Jewish families over the basic rights of the remaining Palestinian population in that geography. The State of Israel is not an apartheid state in the sense that Palestinians are mistreated in one way and Jewish Israelis are treated in a different way. It's actually, they had to create 4 different systems.
Right.
Each one of those systems has the elements of the crime of apartheid. So Palestinian survivors of the ethnic cleansing of Palestine are subject to a different system, the so-called Israeli Arabs. And then we have Palestinians in Jerusalem who are subject to a different Israeli system. And then you have Palestinians in Gaza who are subject to a third system, and Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, 4th system. So the State of Israel upholds and maintains like 4, not 1, but 4 separate and different apartheid regimes that are maintained and operated every single day.
You're talking about 4 different systems. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, actually, when you live within it, you don't notice that.
Right.
You think that is the norm. It's normal for me to live in Bethlehem and being denied the freedom of access to Jerusalem based on birth, or to Gaza based on birth. So the State of Israel have been making it very, very smooth, because they've been in control of Palestine since 1948, for the past 75 years. So the State of Israel controls 2 very important things. Every inch of the land. So if you want to come to visit me in Palestine, you have to cross Israeli-controlled borders. And of course, you tell them, hey, I want to go visit my friend Baha. And they're like, no, get out of here.
Right.
So they control every inch of land. By controlling land, they create geographic separations. Like, I'm 43 years old. I've never been allowed access to Gaza, for example.
Right.
And that's based on birth. The second thing is that the State of Israel, let's say, controls birth registrations. Every Palestinian born in Palestine has to end up in the Israeli birth registration system. So the day you are born, the State of Israel decides which one of those apartheid regimes will be imposed upon you from the day you are born until the day you die. Those things are happening as we speak. You asked about the root, the heart of it.
Right.
The heart of it is like, back in 1897, there was nearly 200 Jewish nationalists that did not meet in Palestine. They actually met in a town called Basel in Switzerland. And in that meeting over 2 days, they decided that they want to establish a Jewish-only state in Palestine, a state for the Jewish people in Palestine. Everything that has been happening from that meeting up until today was to bring down resources in order to create both human and financial resources to bring this project to existence and to maintain that project. So this project came to existence partially in 1948 and completely in 1967. And what we see is the implementation of that settler colonial project.
Paint a picture for me about the injustice and oppression faced by the people of Palestine on a day-to-day basis.
You survive whatever reality that is imposed upon you, and the reality imposed upon you is a savage one. In order to establish Jewish homeland in Palestine, there are three things that were put in place and continue to happen up until today. One of those things is that you want to establish Jewish homeland in Palestine. There are Palestinian people living there. What to do with the people? The colonizers' mindset have always dealt with indigenous population in three different ways. Genocide, like in Australia, New Zealand, North America, so on. Or exploitation, like what the British savages have done in India or in Sri Lanka, Malaysia, or what the Dutch did in Indonesia. And the third one is ethnic cleansing, what was carried out in the northern frontier of India, in Finland, and in Palestine. So Palestinians were subject to a process of ethnic cleansing that has been going on up until today. Like from as early as 1919 until today, there is barely a month that passes without witnessing the removal of a Palestinian family off their land or their property or their homes. Of course, today you see this in a more stark way, but you don't have the tools to connect it. So when you see a home being demolished, like 2 days ago in a village called Al-Walaja near where I live, 3 homes were demolished by the State of Israel. Yesterday, the Israeli army went in and murdered 10 Palestinians and injured 120 people in terms of the elimination of the Palestinian people, displacement or murder or so on. So this is one part that produces hardships day in, day out. And we have normalized that,
Absolutely.
The second form of surviving Israeli oppression has to do with land. If you want to establish Jewish homeland in Palestine, land becomes important. Land is owned by Palestinian families.
Right.
You remove the family, you steal their land. The State of Israel has been legalizing land theft for the past 75 years. State laws enable the state to steal land from Palestinian families. The army is about making laws to enable the state to steal land from Palestinian families. Even God in the State of Israel, is abused to justify land theft. And this is something weird.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ideology upheld by the Israeli oppressors are not a religious ideology. Zionism is not a religious ideology. It's a secular ideology.
And that's what I want to ask you, Biha, because people often paint the Israel-Palestinian conflict, or should I say the violent oppression by Zionists on Palestinian people, as something that is purely religious or racial in nature. Do you agree with this?
When people say the State of Israel is Jewish, I say I wish it was. Because we were given by the 10 Commandments by Jewish prophets, Musa alayhi salam, and so on. So I would not have a problem with people who uphold the 10 Commandments of life is sacred, thou shalt not kill, or thou shalt not steal, or any of those things. When people say the State of Israel is a Jewish state, I understand it in the same way as people say ISIS is the Islamic State. or Hindu nationalists who like go on massacring like people in Gujarat, or or the KKK. Go and lynching black people in the United States and claim that is practicing Christianity. So those people, like, if you talk to them, they'll tell you, no, we are Muslim, no, we are Christian, no, we are like Hindus. And, but what happens here is that the ideology of the State of Israel abuses religion to justify criminal behavior. It does not have to be religion. And abuse of religion to justify criminal behavior is something that we witness all over the world. When the Americans went into like Iraq to destroy that like ancient civilization, George Bush came out and like, it's a crusade. Abuse of religion to justify criminal behavior is something that is very popular around the world. It's criminal. It's not religious. So when people say like Israel is a Jewish state, I would like, I wish it was. In the same sense, when they say Israel is democracy, like if Israel is Jewish and Israel is democracy, then why am I like upset about it?
Right.
I'm upset about it precisely because it's not, But once again, they go on abusing religion to justify criminal behavior. Western propaganda, they have a tendency of keeping some of the weird methods alive. One of them being distraction, another one being putting things out of context, another thing being repetition. You make up something and you keep repeating it and bang your viewers and audience on the head with it until people actually believe it, and then you go on until you believe it yourself. So the State of Israel abuses Jewish faith, Jewish identity, in order to justify its criminal behavior towards Palestinians.
Now, could it be more about capitalist and imperialist powers trying to maintain the status quo?
Power. It's mainly about power. If you want power, you will do it on the expense of the human value of every single person. And whoever stands against you, will be eliminated. It's power and disrespect of the life of brown and black people. It's mainly about that. Western powers are obviously racist, because Palestinians have been butchered, over the past 75 years. Within 20 months, between 1947 and 1949, 15,000 of us were butchered by European criminals. The founders of the State of Israel are 70,000 criminals. They are not like 70,000 militants. They are not like Holocaust survivors, or poor people or weak people. No, criminals. So we've been enduring this savagery for 75 years. Russia declares war in Ukraine. 6 days. Russia, a superpower on the planet, was completely out of everything. IMF, World Bank, FIFA, even football, tennis. Players were not allowed to play tennis, within 6 days. Why?
Right.
Ukrainians are more like white. Palestinians are not. And here's the thing. Many people think that the criminal founders of the State of Israel stole Palestine from Palestinian families to give it to Jewish families.
Right.
That's not true.
So what's the truth?
The truth is that every Jewish individual, who lives in Palestine, they don't own the land that the state stole from the Palestinian families. They pay revenues for the Israeli government itself in order to use that. Maybe not paying it directly, but also they pay for it through real estate agencies and so on and so forth. The State of Israel does not trust its Jewish citizens when it comes to this, because many Palestinians are so desperate to go back to their family's land, right? And they're willing to pay for it. So, the State of Israel would not allow a Jewish person to buy and own the land, because they have no guarantee that this Jewish person would sell the land back to a Palestinian. So no, you are a beneficiary of our crime, but you are not an owner of the outcomes of the crime.
On the show with me today is Baha Hilo, a Palestinian rights activist and educator. After the break, we continue discussing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Keep it here on Today I Learned, BFM 89.9.